In this video, I'm giving you a full tour of my 2020 bullet journals and hopefully giving you some ideas for your own planner. Hey friends, welcome back. So today it is time for one of my favorite videos of the year, and that is my 2020 bullet journal flip-through. So as most of you know, all year I've been keeping a bullet journal. I release monthly plan with me videos on YouTube, and I really enjoy the process of bullet journaling and also documenting it here on YouTube. And I think 2020 was my third year doing that. So I love to show you around my notebooks at the end of the year and kind of show you what worked for me and what didn't, what I loved, what was like not as successful. And one thing I wanted to say is that you're going to see some spreads, some weeks, some months where I didn't use my journal. And I know I'll get a couple comments like, oh, she doesn't really use her bullet journal. All I can say is I assure you I do. I am someone who needs her to-do lists. But yeah, sometimes it just gets away from me and I don't do it. And why I really bring that up, not just to deal with the comments, but is to encourage you. If you miss a week or even a month, that is so not a big deal. I read so many comments like, oh, I missed bullet journaling all summer. I just, didn't have time for it. So I'm gonna wait until 2021 to start journaling again. And that's fine, but I think, if you miss a month, like, who cares? Just start up when you want to. Your notebook, your journal does not need to be this exacting calendar of the entire year. And maybe from the plan with me's, it looks like mine is perfect, and it is so not. I basically missed the whole month of June because that was sort of when our lockdown was really ending here, and just journaling just wasn't as much of a priority for me after all those months indoors. And then there's just some other weeks where we're on holiday or things get away from me and I don't do it. And then I just pick it back up. So it doesn't have to be perfect. As I always say, enjoy your journal when you want to and leave it when you don't. Because journaling really is such a good hobby. It keeps you productive and inspired and organized, but at the same time, it's really relaxing. So it's like gets you motivated, but also calms you down, if that makes sense. And I've really enjoyed it over the last 3 years, and I can't wait to share my 2021 setup with you. That's coming up soon. So look for that on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. And let's get started. My challenge to myself this year was to incorporate more color. I don't like loud, bright color palettes. I'm more comfortable with black and white. So I needed to be able to use color in a way that still defined my style, muted, simple. And so I just wanted to mention that before we start my journal tour. Let's grab a cup of tea and I will grab my journals. This year I worked in 2 Baron Fig notebooks. They're beautiful hardcover and fabric covered journals, and I filled one by the end of June, so I purchased a second one, but that's them there. I almost can't believe 2020 has already gone by. I remember creating this colorful Dutch door yearly cover page with Dream Big, and I remember just being a little bit scared of incorporating all this color, but that is what I challenged myself to do. You can see color on my resolutions page. I did not knit a sweater, just for the record. Okay, and then if we flip over, I have a 2-page spread. This is all kind of part of the key because this year I followed the year in flowers and I did the monthly birth flower for each month. I'm really gonna miss that. It was a great guiding force to the journal. And then of course I had my key where I listed all the symbols that I would use in my journal through the year. Also had my year at a glance. This is just great so that every month you know the days and what day the month starts on and whatnot. I had some flower doodles listed here just to give myself some ideas when I needed it. And then my date book, and this was great. It didn't get a heavy workout just because, there wasn't a lot going on in 2020, but the colored bits are all the weekends, and it's a great place to list birthdays and appointments, stuff like that. Then if we flip over, I have my goals page for YouTube. So all my business goals, things I wanted to change or remind myself to do for the channel, achievements. And then I also have a personal goals page where I listed just kind of silly stuff like things I wanted to purchase that year or things I wanted to do. I had actually checked off the trip to Paris because we had it all booked and then we didn't go. So that's kind of a bummer, but oh well, 2020, what can you do? And then speaking of 2020, this is my future log where I was meant to list kind of how I was going to achieve my goals month by month, and I just didn't really end up using that. But it was a nice idea. I have a simple affirmations page here done in blues and browns with lots of flowers. And then I did a read more books tracker. I thought it might encourage me to read a bit more. I'm not a big reader, but I did fill in some books, which I think is good. And then I had a let it go page. This was really for the start of the year where I could write down some things, tuck them in the envelope, and kind of like leave them or move on from them. I also loved using this coloring page financial tracker. It's a garden theme and helps you track your savings week by week. This would be great to use again this year, and it's available as a printable on my Patreon. Head over there to check out all the channel bonus content. It starts at $2 a month. So that was my initial 2020 setup. Then we start getting into my monthly setups. For January, yes, I did promise color. Yes, I did regress a little. The theme was carnation. I did a large calendar. I had fun with this weekly layout. I don't think it was my most successful weekly layout, and you can see me trying to incorporate color. I don't know if I was that successful. I did have fun with this black and white growth page, and there is a YouTube video on how to do that with cut paper and a white gel pen, and I will link that below because that's a fun project. And then we're into February. Again, doing a Dutch door. The theme or the flower was violets, and I did this big burst of colorful flowers, and I really liked what I did there. I wasn't sure what to do, I remember, and then this triangle design kind of popped into my head. We also did a fun little calendar with colorful flowers, this ripped wreath illustration, which was just kind of cool to rip your drawing. And then for February, I used the same weekly layout as January, but I think I got much better at adding the illustrations. And you can see by the end of the month, I've really developed a style for it that I really liked. It was a little more time consuming, but I was super happy with those. Then we get into March, and our flower is daffodil. I believe this video was one of the most popular of the year, and I saw so many great recreations of this Dutch door cover page with the kind of muted gray daffodils. And then I did a dial calendar, also incorporating the monthly flower. The dial calendars are a lot of fun to draw, but they're not as easy to use. And I loved the March layout. So tight, and everything's kind of in its place, and you get all these beautiful florals with all these straight lines, and everything's boxed in. It's a good layout. Probably use that one again. And then of course, this is March. Had lots of extra time on my hands staying indoors, so I did this floral piece. I don't think it was super successful, but it was fun to try. Working with my stickers. We did a stickers video in March. And then we're into April, and the theme was daisies. Dutch door cover page. I did a little illustration underneath. We did a tiny calendar that was probably too tiny to be useful. A fun illustration on ripped paper with using a white paint pen. And then for the April layout, I've gone back to a similar one to January and February, but the illustration is in the middle instead of on the margins. And I really like this. It's a really nice way to do a simple but pretty weekly layout. The Mayflower is Lily of the Valley, and for this one I tried something totally different, a Dutch door that was kind of cut away at the top and bottom to make this wreath, and the wreath design also continued on the page below, which was really fun to work out that design and work with these cool greens and the little white flowers. I did a larger calendar and another ripped paper simple illustration, and then I did this fun stay home activities tracker. This may come in handy this winter. I'm going to link that video as well because it was its own video. Did a really simple weekly layout, and then we're into June, and the theme was roses. I did this big colorful burst of flowers in the ice cream cone and ice cream cone bouquet. I did a rose themed mood tracker, which I did keep up for June, but then the rest of the month I didn't even fill out my weekly layouts. Like, that was when things started opening back up here, and so I really wasn't into journaling in June. I was getting outside, and that's all good. So that's the end of that notebook. Let me grab my other journal and show you the rest of the year. Come July, I was excited to get back to journaling, so it was the perfect time to start a new notebook, and I did another little cover page, and I did this funny little self-portrait with the window. And then July, the flower is delphinium, so we of course did another Dutch door, lots of color, although I didn't feel that dark blue was super successful. I did, however, love this weekly layout. It's another kind of play on that really structured daily to-do list area with lots of room for delicate illustrations, and I did a ton of black and white illustrations up top. Then August, the flower is Glads, and I did this little summer in a jar theme with a very muted color palette. And I loved this calendar. It was way too small to use, but I just loved the illustration of it. And I really liked the colors I chose for August, the pinks, burgundies, and blues. You'll notice a lot of months I don't use green for the leaves and stems of the flowers, and that's just a great way to play with your color palettes through the year, especially if you're doing florals. What else do we have here? The August layout was okay. I think I also didn't journal a lot in August because we were on vacation camping for a couple weeks. And then we're into September, and I loved this cover page. This was another really popular one on social media. I saw so many great recreations. I did that thing where I placed the little color palette actually on the page below. We did a larger calendar for September, giving you lots of space for your notes and tasks. And what else? I did the same layout as I used for August, but this time I was more successful. I was definitely more comfortable with how to use the flower doodles to actually fill out the page and give me a design layout that I really enjoyed. And then we're into October. The theme was marigold, and I did a double moon or harvest moon themed cover page for the 2 full moons that month. This one I really loved because browns and oranges are not my color palette, but I pushed myself to make something I loved, and that's always a good feeling when something is hard for you, but then you can be successful with it. I definitely did a lot of rough drafts that month. I also did a nice weekly layout that I was like kind of happy with. It wasn't my favorite ever. And then we're into November, and I'll be honest, this was probably my least favorite cover page of the year. The mushrooms and mums was a little cluttered and colorful, but you know, that's cool. And then the weekly layout, actually, I really enjoyed this month because it had a little Dutch door, so something a bit different for November, but very labor intensive, I will say that. I think the stress of my colorful cover page had me doing lots of black and white weekly layouts for that month, which I liked. And then into December, the final month of the year, the theme is poinsettias, and I did this fun little sort of greeting card or envelope full of winter flowers. I did a holiday wish list. This is a great design for any list or to-do list. I kind of used mine as a things I would like to do this season list. We also did another dial calendar, just did a couple of those this year. They're kind of, I don't think as popular, but they are fun to illustrate. And then another weekly layout, very similar to the August layout and September layout that we did. But as I said, I think every month I get a little more successful with that one, and all the winter greenery is really pretty. I'm filming this at the start of December, so I still have to use my journal for this month, but that's it. That's the tour of my notebooks. I hope this gave you some inspiration for your own journal and the journal that you'll hopefully be making in 2021. Remember, a lot of this, every monthly cover page, is available as a printable on my Patreon. Support the channel and get extra bonus content. Head over there after the video and check it out.